Hello, and welcome to the Realigned Journey, the unfiltered guide to self-discovery and reconnection. I'm Sierra Sambrowski, your host, and together we'll investigate and discover the ways we have lost touch with our true selves and explore ways we can reconnect to it. This season, I'm starting each episode by asking my guest a question about what moment, event, or just pivotal experience happened to them in their life that really realigned them and sent them on a different direction, career wise, around their life path, or just who they knew themselves to be. This week, I have with me Kerstin Oleta. Kerstin has over 30 years of training and performing experience in the theater and opera. This has brought her deep, in depth knowledge of all types and forms of communication. Kerstin uses her unique skills, talents, and understanding of nonverbal communication combined with her experience running multiple successful businesses to help leaders and executives tap into their innate, powerful presence and enhance their body language, leadership, and team management skills. Kerstin is a five-time award-winning trainer and now the CEO and founder of the Business Leadership Excellence Institute. Kerstin, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute honor.
I am very excited for this. You and I don't know each other very well, which is actually always kind of one of my favorite things. People might think that's weird, but I like getting to on recording live,
Mhm.
get to know people and dig in. So let's have you start off. What was whichever experience, because I think most all of us have had multiple, have really kind of relented. So, what experience or moment in your life do you feel drawn to share with us that really changed everything for you?
I would love to share the experience I had coming to Texas from Washington State. I'm originally from the Seattle area,
Okay.
in a town called Maple Valley, Washington, where I, raised my kids there, had a house there for 20 years, and grew up in that area.
Okay.
But I really had the experience of God drop kicked me out of Washington State
Mm,
to get to Texas.
mm,
And it was an absolute nightmare experience that turned into the biggest blessing of my life.
mm,
And I think that's a big, um, when we sit back and we look at our experiences, there's a common theme in that, right? Once
mm.
we get through the storm, we get into this beautiful new horizon
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was in July of 2021. Yeah, and I'd had this house for 20 years. Come to find out, I had a catastrophic water leak
Mm.
underneath my house that destroyed it.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So I had gone away for the weekend with a girlfriend and I. We went to Eastern Washington to this cute little resort town called Lake Chelan. And I came home Sunday night late
Mhm.
and it's dark and I walk into my house and I hear rushing water. But I can't find water anywhere.
Oh my gosh.
But it sounds like there's a river running underneath my kitchen sink.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I call a plumber. He comes and he walks in, and the look on his face was priceless. He goes, that's a really ominous sound. I'm like, that's not what you want to hear coming out of a plumber's mouth, like
Exactly.
ever,
That's what I was just
ever.
gonna say. Okay, that is not what you want to hear from the professional.
No, no. So that was the beginning of many, 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 many comments like that from professionals. So he he just turns to me and goes, I can't help you.
Oh.
I said, okay. Well, what do I do? He goes, well, you need to call your insurance company. And then he goes, I'm going to give you the number of someone who can do ground penetrating radar because something's happening underneath your house. And I can't, and he just kept saying, and I can't help you. I'm
And it
like,
He didn't even attempt to like shut the water off from the main or something,
Well, we did shut the water off. Yeah, we did
and
do
you still
that.
heard it.
No, no, no. It
Oh,
did shut everything off. It did shut everything off.
okay.
So, this part of the long of the story, long story short, because there's many, many parts of this story.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
We got an hour. You can talk about whatever you
okay,
want.
well, trust me, this could take up like 5 days. This was a 4-year ordeal.
Yeah.
So, um, I had to have two different ground penetrating radar companies come in to finally
Wow.
find where it was one of the pipes. My house was slab on grade, so it was a rambler, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so the pipes for the water are in the middle of the slab.
Mm-hmm.
One
Mm-hmm.
of the pipes had burst and slowly over time had dug away a third of the slab and the foundational soil that was underneath the house.
Whoa. Okay, can
Yeah.
I just say, first of all, so I have a construction background.
Okay, so
So
you
that
know
all
what
makes a
hot
lot.
mess
Obviously,
that
so I
is.
got all these like construction oriented questions, and I'm like, no, 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 this is not the time for that. And then on top of it all, I had a restoration company that I worked
Oh, okay, so
towards
you
the
know.
more recently. So
Hmm.
yeah, so and I was with them for almost 5 years. So yeah, so like all of it, like I said, I got all these questions, like, but I always say water in despite varying opinions. I believe water to be the most powerful substance there is, and that
Oh yeah.
water will always find a way. It
Uh-huh.
will always find a way, and it will
Yeah.
go wherever there is the least resistance, but it does more damage than
And it will
anything.
always win.
Always wins.
There's no winning against water
Oh
ever.
my gosh. So it just eroded. So how was you didn't have any signs like your house was collapsing? Like sinking or shifting?
No, we had a couple doors that were sticking a little bit,
Hmm.
but like nothing
Massive.
major. But it finally just hit because it was eroding along the edge of the foundational structure,
Wow.
right? And just
Wow.
slowly, and it finally got to the point where it broke through enough
Wow.
and all of a sudden started causing problems. So it hit that tipping point. And then blam. Now the house is like literally the seams are all of a sudden
Coming
pulling this.
apart.
Well, what happened was as soon as we opened the floor, that's
Mm.
when the whole house went, okay.
Yeah, it was
And
holding it together,
it
literally.
was it was literally holding it together because we did that. And then all of a sudden there was this giant, I remember sitting in the other room and I hear this pow. And I go out into the garage and I see this giant crack all the way through the garage. It
Mm.
just that was that tipping point. It was crazy. Like it was, and I remember having foundation guys come in and
Hmm.
and concrete guys come in, and they're all shaking their head of like, I've
Never
never
seen anything
seen
like this.
anything like this in a house. Never have seen anything like this in a house.
Well, aren't you lucky?
Now, keep in mind, a couple years before this, in let's see, so that was in 2019 and 2014, a tree had fallen on this house.
Mm.
And that had caused a whole, I mean, so we ended up deeming this house the hell house. It was just like thing after thing after thing. So we,
Spirit
they
was
had,
trying to tell you to get the hell out of there. I
right now,
mean,
can
that's,
you see I'm a little stubborn?
yeah,
Just
so
right.
am I.
And
I
God's like,
understand.
sister,
I
I gave
relate.
you this. I gave you like, listen, right? So when I say drop kick, he
Hmm.
literally had to drop kick
Hmm.
me out of this house.
Hmm.
Yeah. So this is where now we're living in a hotel that is the only one we could find that would hold so I had me and my two daughters and the dog living in a 1 bedroom suite in a hotel for 3 months. We were far enough outside of the school district that luckily there was a program for being displaced in the school district where they sent a taxi to get my kids to and from school every day.
Oh, thank goodness for that.
That was heaven sent. I'm trying my best to run my business out of a hotel
Yeah.
room.
Yeah.
And so the dining table that you get in the hotel room was slash my office, slash their homework space, slash our dinner.
Hmm. Hmm.
It
Hmm.
was just pure craziness.
Hmm.
So finally, and so they originally, the insurance company just wanted to, they're like, well, we're gonna fill the hole and then it'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I said,
Sure will.
no, 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 no. And so they didn't, I said, I want a structural engineer to come in. Well, I made the mistake of letting them bring in a structural engineer, and the structural engineer was saying, oh, yeah, she caused all this damage. And I'm like, how on earth do I cause damage underneath a house? There's no way, right? So then we went into litigation.
Ugh.
Litigation went on for 4 years. It took a year for them to just get to the point. We had to bring in a soil expert. I mean, we had to bring in all sorts of stuff. Finally, a year later, they agreed to start working on the house. So the house sat for a year.
Mm. Where did you, so do you just get a rental or something?
So eventually I threw a fit. I'm like, we can't live out of a hotel room for,
Yeah.
this
Right.
long.
Yeah, that's so long.
And so I'm very assertive,
Mhm.
you know. And I was like, okay, we're gonna do this differently. So I went and found a house that was a 5,000 square foot mansion on a 20-acre property with a pool and said, I need my own office space. And this is the only house that's available right now that has an office space. So you have to give me like to like in my insurance policy. And they couldn't argue that part. That was the one
Good
place where I
for
won right
you.
away. Yes. So I had a very good lesson with it was gorgeous. It
Uh-huh.
was beautiful. And then in 6 months later, well, we moved in and then 4 months later, COVID hit.
Well, that's kind of a happy accident. I mean, at least
Right?
you got all that space inside and out to be
Yes. So
instead of being on top of each other. Oh
we
my
were
God.
really in our own little bubble, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our own little
Hmm.
sanctuary bubble. And what I loved about I'm a nature person. I love being out in nature. Because we were on a 20-acre property out in the literally in the wilderness of Washington State, we had coyotes living in our backyard. We had two deer family living in our backyard. We had the elk herd that was about 30 elk come through our backyard once a month. We were part
Hmm.
of their migration area.
Hmm.
And then, so we could sit in the pool and watch the elk go by. I mean, that was a very unique experience for
That's
sure.
lovely.
Yes.
What a
Yes.
beautiful blessing from that. Plus, I'm thinking the abundance energy you would bring to yourself by being in that kind of an environment, right? Like, in some ways, as difficult as all this was, you were really kind of priming your own pump for being in like a more up-leveled lifestyle, I would
Yes, I
think.
was. Well, what I loved is one of my best friends came over. This was before COVID hit, and she's like, Kirsten, I want you to take this in and I want you to catalog every single thing you love about this house and
Hmm.
carry it forward. Right. So
Hmm. Hmm.
I took that in deeply and I thought about, okay, what are the parts I really love about this house? I realized I don't like that big of a house.
Stupid.
That's a lot of maintenance.
I would
It's
agree.
cleaning was a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that took care of all those. Oh, I want my big fancy house. No, I really don't.
Okay. We're working out our
But
preferences here. That's all.
exactly. Yeah. Just I really learned the preferences, what I liked, what I didn't like, and catalog those very deeply. So finally we get the house going. I also within I think it was 3 months, it was about a month or two before COVID hit, um, I had gone back into a custody battle for my kids
Hmm.
because my ex-husband was abusive and he was starting to, that's why I left him. And
Hmm.
he started scaring my children again. So I was like, okay, so now we're going back to court. So that
A
was another
lot.
layer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you just got upheaval in every area of your
There
life.
was no rock left unturned in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like every area was touched. So as we're going through all of that, um, it was a blessing to have that sanctuary time with my children.
Hmm. That
You
makes
know,
sense.
I think even though it was really hard for them to go to school online, that was tough for them.
Mm.
I think it was another like protective level bubble
Mm-hmm.
for my
Mm-hmm.
children
Mm-hmm.
of all the stuff we were going through with the court case, of not having to deal with that in school,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Yeah.
that's a whole nother level of dealing with kids saying, all those things.
Right. Right.
So I feel I know God took the timing of, like you said, why did the house not start to fall apart before this?
Yeah.
And I think that divine timing was so, as it is, was so perfect. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
believe in perfect except for divine timing. That's the only area I feel perfect is a legit place in
Yeah.
life. Because I personally think perfect is gross. But it really gave us that space to be in more of a, I want to say protected, but there's another word of just honed in together.
Yeah, like very nurturing and
Very nurturing, yes, and be able to
nice.
deal with things that way. So we're dealing with all that. And then of course, the BLM riots start later on in the Seattle area. I happened to be dating a cop at that time who was in the middle of the BLM riots.
Oh my.
So that was not fun. And so at that point, the relationship was looking fairly serious, and we were looking at, you know, maybe Washington is not the place for us.
Hmm.
Let's start looking other places. Texas was one of the ones on my list, and my
Why
grandma's
Texas? Okay.
my grandma's from Texas.
Okay.
So I grew up with the Southern hospitality, and which I love.
I gotta say, you have super Texas energy to me. I'm serious. Even when I met you just briefly when we first did just our little quick one, and then I didn't know that that's where you were. And then when you said I'm in Texas, I was like, oh, yes, you are. Most definitely. You have Texas energy about you.
Well, thank you.
But it probably has been carried forward, because I believe in all that kind of stuff about ancestral and generational. So
Yes.
and if your
Yes.
grandmother was deeply connected to you and you were deeply connected to her, there's certainly sort of a sharing of energy that I believe in that makes sense.
Yeah, and I honored that. When Oleta was actually her first name, when I released my married name, it was my middle name. And I chose to
Okay.
honor her and actually move my middle name to my last name
I
to
love
honor her.
that.
Yeah. So
Oh,
she's
that's so
we're very,
special.
very deeply connected.
Yes, yes,
And
you
she lived
are.
in
I just got
96. Like you
chills.
didn't,
Yeah.
she was the epitome of grace and strength as a Texas woman. Like
Mm,
absolutely.
mm,
Up to her 96th birthday, she was still wearing pearls,
wow.
full, like lovely, always had herself all put together. But I got to tell you, with Gigi, if and I never heard her yell, she had 8 children, and I never heard her yell once in my entire life. But if you did something that was out of sorts, she would turn to you and go, I'm just not sure why a person would do that.
I
And you're
might
like,
have to
I
adopt that.
I suck as a human. Okay, Grandma Gigi, I'm never gonna do that again.
That is genius.
Right?
Yes, I love it.
Right? Exactly. I was like,
Yes.
so she had a profound effect on my life. Yeah, very
Yes,
so,
yeah.
yes.
So did you
So
go spend summers with her?
we spent a lot of time. I mean, they were up in
Yeah.
Washington State,
Okay.
for my whole life,
Okay.
because my grandpa got stationed up there
Okay.
as a merchant marine. So, and their all his brothers and a bunch of their family had gotten stationed up there, so they all went up there together.
Oh, nice for
Yeah.
them.
Yes. So I grew up with, I'm one of 18 first generation grandchildren. So we all got together every holiday.
Wow.
I mean, it was like 35, 40 people
Yeah.
every holiday. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was very, very tightly ingrained in my childhood. So we've
So
kind of all grown up and gone our own ways now, but
they moved from Texas to Washington.
yes,
That's where
yes,
that connection came in. Okay.
yes, yes. Grandpa was from Kansas, grandma was from Texas, and then they ended up moving when they got together eventually.
Yeah.
Originally, they actually went to Panama because he worked on the Panama Canal. It's where my
Oh.
first uncle was born. and then they went to
Fascinating.
Washington.
That's a very interesting family history you have.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
So
another show.
that's
That's
a
a whole
whole nother show. That's
episode.
what I'm saying.
Okay, back to we're
Back to the,
deciding.
yes, still getting back to this. So, um, so Texas was put that bee was put in my bonnet, right, for Texas.
Yeah.
And then the relationship didn't work out, but it didn't leave me.
Hmm.
And as things were moving along and the house thing was still just like a constant, it was like commando crawling uphill to get
Hmm.
things done, to get and working with insurance was just so
Hmm.
difficult.
Hmm.
And I remember meeting with my best friend when we could finally go back and go out to dinner after COVID, and we went out to dinner, and I just we were in the middle of talking, and I blurted out, I said, "Honey, I think I'm supposed to move to Texas." And she goes, "Yes, I'll go with you. Let's go."
Oh,
I'm
that's
like,
even
"Okay,
better.
let's do it." Right. So then I called up. I had another friend from high school who had moved here a couple of years before that because her husband got relocated for his job. And so I called her up the next day and said, "Hey, I miss you, but I also want to come visit you because I want to see you and I want to come see Texas. When can I come down?" She's like, "Come down whenever." So then I came down a month later.
Hmm.
And I remember the nanosecond I got off the plane, I was just like, "Oh, I can breathe." Like I
Mm.
felt my soul breathe.
I've had that experience. I know what that's like.
Yes. And it just everything about being here was just my mantra in life is if it's not a hell yes, it's an automatic hard no, right? And
Hmm.
it was
Hmm.
just all of it was a hell yes
Hmm.
across the
Hmm.
board.
Hmm.
So as soon as we got back, and we were driving home from the airport of coming back from that trip, I told my kids, okay, I said Texas is on my radar. My goal is we're there within a year, but it could be 3 to 5 years, just depending on how the whole house thing goes, right? Well, it
Hmm.
ended up being 5 months to the day.
Mm. Interesting. How the good Lord aligns everything when it's
Yes,
meant to
like
be part of your
again,
plan.
that
Mhm.
divine timing was crazy good. So the house is finally getting worked on. We've got some momentum going in that. I finally finish up the court battle. I get full custody of my children, and in so this is now March of 2021.
Hmm.
I finally get the signed paperwork that I have full custody of my children. And then, and this is again around the same time of the BLM riots. Oh no, sorry, those had already happened, but there was still a lot of
Upheaval
upheaval,
culturally
right?
and
There was still
everything.
a lot going on with that. And now keep in mind, I'm in this big giant house on a 20-acre property. So our driveway is a mile long dirt road.
Hmm.
Nobody finds this house.
Hmm.
Yeah, on purpose, even though, yeah, everybody always got lost trying to find the house.
Right.
And one day, about a week after I get my signed paperwork, there's 10 people driving by the house. And some of them are stopping and they're taking pictures. I'm like,
What
this
the
is very
hell's going
concerning.
on? Yeah.
Exactly. So I told my children, I said, do not go near the windows, right? Um, keep your phones on you. I'm going to call the owner who was on the property, right? So, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm not going to call the cops till I call her, just in case maybe she's having work done on the house. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Tax
So,
assessment.
who knows,
Right.
right?
Right.
And there was some work the house needed, so it's like, I don't know what her situation is. We'll figure it out. So, this is a Friday. I finally get on the phone with her, and I said, Carol, there's all these cars driving by the house. One guy even got out
Hmm.
and started walking around the grounds until he saw me in the window and then got in his car and left. And I said, Carol, are you having work done on the house? Is this why people are driving by? Because I wanted to check in with you first, because otherwise, if you didn't send anybody, I'm going to call the police.
Hmm.
Okay. And she goes, yeah, I don't know how to tell you this, but actually the house has gone into foreclosure and it's going up for auction tomorrow morning.
I thought you were going to say it went up for sale, but I
No, it's
mean, I
going up
guess
for
it
auction
was
the next morning.
tomorrow. Oh,
Yes.
wow.
Yes. Now, in the meantime, my best friend, who we were going to go to Texas together, she had gone to Arizona and fell in love with Arizona,
Okay.
ended up buying a house there. So she actually was going to move to Arizona. And she's like, I'm getting into the South. Just we'll both be in the South when you get to Texas, right? So she goes, I'm sorry, I'm leaving you behind a little early. And that night, she had already planned to come to my house and spend the night because she was driving to Arizona the next morning. That was going to be our last girl hangout.
Right.
So she shows up, and I'm like, just lost it. Totally overwhelmed. Sat down, went through a few bottles of wine, and as we're talking through this, she's like, here's the thing, Kirsten, you want to go to Texas and check it out, right? I was like, well, yeah, but I don't know how I'm gonna do that now. I got to deal with this. And she goes, well, insurance still has to pay for your housing for at least 4 more months, right? And I said, well, yeah, and I'm still fighting with them on that too to extend it. And she goes, well, why don't you go to Texas for more 4 months and test drive it? Right? This place isn't available anymore, and they're gonna try to put you back in a hotel, which is awful.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you go back to Texas, or why don't you go down to Texas, check it out? If you don't like it, come back. I was like,
Good plan.
okay. So I left a week later with only what could fit in my minivan and called my lawyer and said, I'm leaving. And he goes, well, you can't do that. I said, yes, I can. And it's your job to make that work. And I've got a ton to do. So you're going to have to take over that part. And I'm going to go back. And I got off the phone. And so we left. Like luckily I had an extended minivan at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked like a hoarder house.
Mm-hmm.
And so we stuffed every little nook and cranny, and we're driving out of the garage the next Saturday morning. And my daughter turns to me and she goes, Mom, do we have permission from insurance to do this? And I said, here's what we're doing. Okay. Oh, by the way, the divine timing thing again
Yeah.
happened to be the start of my children's spring break, so they wouldn't miss any school.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So I had 10 days to work with to figure out how to get to Texas and get us,
Set
established
up
and
and
started up.
yeah.
Yes. So I said, we're either going on a really long road trip with a shit ton of stuff, or we're moving to Texas and we're going to find out on the way. And both my kids were like, okay.
God
And
bless.
they were 17 and 13 at the time.
Tough ages to make that kind of move.
Tough ages to make that kind of, yes, it was my daughter's senior year in high
Oh,
school. Granted, she wasn't at school,
right,
right?
because it was COVID
It
and
was
all that, so
COVID.
they were all home.
So yeah. So somewhere, we drove, and I would get on an app every night and figure out what our next leg was going to be and where we were going to stay. And it worked out. And we stayed at some really beautiful places. And somewhere, like, the really poignant part for me was this part where we were in Colorado, like southern Colorado, out in the middle of nowhere. We were I think this was our third day driving, and very awful reception. There's dirt, and that's pretty much all you can see. I remember seeing two cows in a tree, and that was about it. Okay. And we're on a little bit of a rise. And insurance calls me and they said, okay, we're going to approve this, but and I had already put in the application for a place. I found the place in Texas where we could stay. And they said, okay, we're going to approve this, but because it's taken this long, they're going to require that you sign the lease by tonight or you're going to lose the place. And so it's a little after 3 p.m. and I had to sign that lease by 5.
Oh, how did you do that? Digital.
So, oh, right. Well, here's the thing. Remember, reception was awful. I mean,
Yeah.
literally the conversation was, so you have permission. I mean, and I'm thinking, okay. And I remember the look on my kid's face, like, Mom, are we going to lose the place? Are we going to be homeless? They were really concerned. I said, okay,
Hmm.
I need you, because we were in the car, so they heard the whole conversation.
Right.
Right? It was over the car
Right.
system. I said, I need to be quiet because I've got to figure some things out. And in that moment, I have never prayed so hard in my entire life. And that was literally like, Jesus, I need you to take the wheel.
Yeah.
I may have
Yeah.
massively screwed this up. I don't know what to do because I don't think I can get this signed. Um, knowing the reception's awful, I don't know if I can make this happen. Right. And I'm praying and I'm praying and I'm praying. And just as I close out that prayer, we get over the rise, and right on the other side of that rise is a truck stop with Wi-Fi. So we pull into the truck stop, and I must have looked like a crazy woman because I'm walking around the parking lot going, okay, where's the reception consistent? Couldn't find any consistent Wi-Fi until I'm leaning over the sink in the women's bathroom. That's where I
Of all
signed the lease
places.
of all. So we got the lease signed. We drove in 2 days later. We didn't have any furniture for a week, so
Mhm.
we lived on. I had brought 3 folding tables. We went and bought lawn chairs. I went to the dollar store, bought some dishes, and we lived on that for a week. And so that following Monday, my kids went back to school in Washington State online, and I went right back to work because everything had been online. So COVID was a blessing for us
Right. Because it
in that.
allowed you to be able to be remote and not have to
Yes.
totally disrupt everything. Right.
Yes. So my daughter actually graduated from high school in Washington State from
While you
Texas.
lived in Texas. That's
Yes.
that's wonderful.
Yeah. So we did fly back so she could walk in her graduation that they had.
Hmm.
Um, and then within 3 years, at that point it was the Kerstin show. I was individually coaching. I ended up moving that to opening the BLEI, the Business Leadership Excellence Institute, and started taking on other coaches and training other people. So that's been going on for a few years. And then just a few months ago, signing a partnership and now partnering with UTSA to be an individual partner for their National Security Collaboration Center.
That's amazing.
Yes.
But I guess the whole thing is and this is where I want to dig in then. What I want to know is that besides what I can only imagine would be, and having been through my own similar type situations in life multiple times, I'm stubborn also, but I do get it eventually. Um, there's a deepening of faith
Mm,
that happens, right?
yes,
When we go
absolutely.
through these things, and no matter how hard it is, and no matter how caught up you are in the emotions and only seeing the hardness of it, there does get to be kind of this light of day where you go, you know what, I was really taken care of.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
have never actually been without. Look, that's actually going to make me emotional because I know that feeling.
Hmm.
And also, it sounds very much to me like this was also a real deepening of your belief and confidence in yourself too at the same time.
I totally agree with that too. I would say, yeah, the faith aspect of understanding, like you said, that love and that being cared for is always there. And to really trust that, right?
Hmm.
That trust factor. I've always had a good relationship in my faith,
Hmm.
but it deepened the trust. And the beauty that brought, the secondary part was the peace
Hmm.
that now as other things show up in life, I don't have that, what am I gonna do?
Hmm.
Right? Now I'm like, okay, this is gonna be another time to dig deep. I know I'm cared for. I know, and every situation now going forward has been, okay, I know there's a way that this is going to work. And that's going to be my focus.
Hmm.
Because if I can get through that,
Hmm.
anything is possible.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And again, and then the secondary part of that is for myself of knowing I have the the resiliency. I have the forthrightness, I have the assertiveness, I have the wisdom to bring to every single situation, to
Mm-hmm.
bring the best out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's parts where you got to learn. I would say I also learned you really you can't hold on to things. So one of the experiences of this was we moved into an apartment here,
Mm-hmm.
right, in New Braunfels, Texas. A couple months later, we ended up moving from Round Rock, Texas to New Braunfels, which I love it here. And I told my children, I said, okay, we're starting over and I choose every detail. This is mine.
Mm.
But the secondary part of that is I had to let go of every single thing we had left. My entire household, we auctioned off.
Right.
Everything I'd owned for 20 years, except for
Right.
what fit in the minivan, was completely let go of. And that was a big emotional journey of, okay, I've got to just release it. And once I got to the release, oh my gosh, so liberating.
Mm-hmm. But it's getting there. I
But it's
mean,
getting there, right? It took a minute. It took
yeah,
a minute.
I was just say people that listen or follow me know this about me, but so I had at one point in life gone back and gotten trained to be a grief facilitator. And
Mhm.
while I enjoy working with people as they go through physical death and loss of a loved one. The truth is that what I came to realize was that we all experience grief over and over and over again as we age, and it comes in the form of careers and dreams and divorces and even stuff,
Yeah.
and that there's a true process that you have to honor and move through, because if you don't, it stays stuck in you somewhere. So when
Yes.
you get to that space of being able to let go, or like you were talking about, the situations in life that show up, and we have to come to a place, and I believe that this creates confidence. I think it's resilience, but it creates a deepening of confidence in us if we allow it, where we are strong enough to know I have to let go of the wheel.
Yeah.
You
Right.
use that comment, right? It takes not only trust and faith in our higher power, but there's a deep confidence in ourselves
Yes.
that also has to be present.
Yes.
Because without some sort of confidence in yourself, like the two are so deeply intertwined, it's like chicken or the egg. Like, what comes first? Confidence in me or the trust in the faith? Or the
Right.
trust in the faith brings the confidence in me. I don't know. It's kind of like an inner thing. But
But
that
I think that's the
all,
purpose, right?
yeah,
That's the
absolutely.
whole purpose is it's not one without the other, and God wants us to have that confidence in ourselves.
Mhm.
That's the whole
Agreed.
point of faith in him is I think that we the beauty is we feel that faith that he has in us.
Hmm.
Right. And the beauty
Who we were
of the
created to
gifts that we
be.
were given, that we can bring that confidence and we can share those with people and use it also to get through situations.
Hmm.
Right. So I 100% agree with you on that. And then I want to add a
Yeah,
caveat. So
please.
remember how I cataloged everything about that house?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I finally bought a house here. I decided to set roots here in New Braunfels a year and
Good
a
for
half ago.
you.
Yes. Finally sold the hell house. We finally got that done.
Oh God.
It was 4 years to
That's
get that done. That was a
so long.
that was so long. Finally got that done. Bought my house here. Um, the house has it's a we call it the little big house because the living area is very close to the same layout. The kitchen in the big house, we call it the big house, right? The big house was my favorite. I love to cook. I love the setup. It's a smaller version of
Hmm.
that setup. It has the exact same cabinets. It has the exact same countertops. It has, and what was really cool about the house is the bigger house had double stairway,
Uh-huh.
right? So you see the railing going up, and then it had the walkway between the
Yep.
bedrooms was overlooking the great room.
Yeah.
And it had these really beautiful iron, railings. My house has the exact same railings, and it's got one that because I have a
Damn,
loft
Kerstin.
bedroom, right? So it's got the one side where
Uh-huh.
it's looking up, and then you can look up over the top. it's like a little half cutout of what, and everybody who was in the big house that came to visit me here since then is like, this is like a little version of the big house.
Freaky. Talk about
Yes.
manifesting some
Man,
shit.
oh yeah, I'm a manifester. I'm a mega
Awesome.
manifester.
Yeah. Do you know human design at all?
No, I've still got to do that. I
Okay.
haven't
Oh
done it
yeah, I
yet.
gotta send you a link. We did talk
Yes.
about that.
Yeah,
I was gonna say because I wonder if you're a manifester.
I am. I already know I'm a mega manifester.
Yeah.
Big
Well,
time.
there's different energy types in human design. So people can be a generator and also still have very great
For,
manifesting because there's other
okay.
factors that play into that. But there's actual in human design, there's a manifestor energy type as well. There's a
Oh,
generator.
interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you could be that person as well.
Cutting out a little bit.
Oh, there you go.
I, I could. I
Yeah.
could definitely be that person.
You could have double. But anyway, that's really incredible.
Yeah, so it was quite the journey. And so when I say he drop kicked me out, I'm not kidding,
Yeah.
right? And it was very much it was such a nightmare, but the outcome has been so beautiful. My children have just been flourishing since we've been here. Um, my business has been flourishing, and it was the blessing I never knew
Yeah.
I wanted and needed. I really
Yeah.
never envisioned myself moving out of Washington State.
Yeah. What was happening internally in you? We know what was happening in your outside world as all this was going on, but what was that like internally, like looking back on it now? Are there things that you can say, "Oh, I can see that God was trying to activate this in me or he was, working on this in me." Do you have some kind of reflection point back to that?
I would say I had gone through a reflection point, one of those moments when I first
Hmm.
got divorced,
Hmm.
because my background is I was an opera singer. I
Yeah.
had a voice studio for 30 years, and those were my main, jobs.
Yeah.
I had multiple businesses. I'd also had a hot sauce business at one point. So, I was a lady boss, but I was really focused on performance. And I had a business person come to me and say, your skill set's really needed in the business world. And I said, well, I don't
Hmm.
know what that looks like.
Hmm.
So they introduced me and I got one client. And then within 3 years, and I developed body language strategy, and it grew like crazy. Within 3 years, I'm flying around the country. I'm speaking at conferences. And so I feel like that was God was refining the talent that
Mm.
I had been blessed with
Mm.
into and my studio was very, very successful,
Hmm.
right? So I had created a lot of success there, but that was a real pivotal point of like, okay, it's time to go a different direction with this. And I listened and I ran
Hmm.
with it, right? And it kind of took off on its own. And it was like, ooh, and so then it became to the point of keeping up with it. But I think it was I'm a confident person,
Hmm.
but there was still some chase, and like I still felt like I had to chase after what I wanted in life.
Mm.
You
A little bit of
know,
a worthiness issue,
that
perhaps.
yes, there was some worthy stuff, and I came from very humble backgrounds, grew up very, very poor,
Hmm.
and the feeling like I truly was worth
Hmm.
having all this huge success. And when
Hmm.
it first happened, I didn't really know what to do with it. I didn't I didn't poo-poo it. I didn't be like, no, not for me.
Well, that's good because some people do that unconsciously. I mean,
Yeah.
I have a lot of clients that hit a certain level of success, and I'm talking big by the rest of our standards, very big success, financially in the way, having hundreds of
Hmm.
employees um and yet there's this space that they get to sometimes where when that no longer satisfies them, they have all this stuff that comes up and some of it is still worthiness stuff.
Yeah. And I will say, there was still and it was slowly going away, but before the house experience, there was still that little lingering of like, God, could this all go away at some point?
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Once we went through the house thing, I that so solidified for me. I am on the path God had intended for me. This is the path, and I am gonna, no matter what, stay on it. I know it now. This is my place, and I have never doubted it since.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that, I mean, that really changes how I approach business discussions. Like I know it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a part of my being now instead of something
Mm-hmm.
I'm chasing after.
That totally makes sense to me. Honestly, when you were saying about moving into the big house and I made the comment about how it was setting you up for that kind of abundance mindset, I did have that insight come through at the time
Yeah.
when you were saying it, which is why I made a point of saying it out loud. Um, because even then spirit kind of came through and was like we were setting her up to be
Hmm.
able to move into this space of more deeply embodying that sense of worth, which is the undercurrent energy of any kind of abundance and success, and really the way that we are able to help others in a more impactful way,
Yeah.
in a way that creates a stronger effect, I believe, um, is requiring us to have this real deep sense of confidence and worth, um, because that carries power. And as a body language person, as doing the work that you
Oh
do,
yeah.
I mean, you know that you can speak to that better than I can. That when we have that really deep rooted sense of confidence and trust in ourselves,
Hmm.
and in life and our higher power, whatever we call that, it generates a different kind of energy. I think that has greater impact,
As
right?
well, and that's why after I experienced all going through all that, I really shifted my wording in
Mm-hmm.
talking about the energy factor of body language and how we interconnect and interact with each other, of its magnetizing, right? Because how our energies connect, that's the presence, right? Glue of who we really want to connect with, who, and that's a deciding factor.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that's the permission we give others of how and why we're going to do business with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So it really, even though I knew it, it's one of those things of
Mm-hmm.
going from knowing it, I knew it, I knew how to do it, and I was doing it, but the deepened,
There's a deepening.
it was a
Yeah.
deepening of
Mm-hmm.
it on, and like now it's in my cellular level, not
Mm-hmm.
just
I
in my
get that.
muscle level.
Yep.
I knew it in my muscle level because I've been performing since I was 17, right? But this time it first it went into my bones, and then I would say getting into my house here was that okay, this like lives in every cell of my body.
Yeah. I have
Yeah,
arrived.
I have arrived. Yes.
As we get ready to wrap up, tell me first, what is, we didn't really talk that much about this, but that's okay. That means I can have you back.
Yeah.
The body language piece that you do that is kind of a big undercurrent to your work and has been is of great fascination to me, and we didn't really get to go there. But can you leave everybody listening with
Mhm.
sort of, I don't know, it could be a tip, it could be just something that you want them to know about body language. I mean, honestly, what you just said is a great way to close. But let's see if
Okay.
there's something else that you can pull out to share with everybody around understanding the impact that our body language, our confidence, how that impacts our lives.
I'll say, it took me years to develop this system called body language strategy, and this is my own methodology. And I was so blessed. Again, this was another huge blessing that came to me. I was contacted by eBay Global
Mm,
and saying, we need you to work with our directors and our managers. So I got the opportunity to work with directors and managers literally all over the world, and got to put my methodology to the test in every kind of demographic. And
beautiful.
what was so cool about that is it helped me to hone it in at such a deep level of understanding what is it that magnetizes us to one person, as as a leader, as
Hmm.
someone we want to be connected to, first, and to another person who's just kind of great,
Hmm.
right? That's a different interaction that we have, and that
Yeah.
there is a permission factor in that. And there were four areas that really stood out to me of when you show up in your body language in confidence, in competence, creating trust, and being approachable, right?
Mm,
Approachability, people will naturally pull to you. Right. And when you give that type of permission with your body language and with your presence, now everything you do has a higher impact and has a higher, it really,
mm,
the retaining of it and the longevity of it is just skyrocketing. Right. So that's where we move from being good at what we do to being impactful with what
mm,
we do.
mm.
And that's the joy is I get to help people go from, take their magic, take their secret sauce
Yeah.
and just put it on this crazy, elevated, impactful level. And that makes
Love
me
that.
wag my tail all day
I
long.
love that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
So,
I'm crazy blessed.
yeah, right. It is when we get to do what we love so much and brings us so much joy. Sometimes it's not like you almost feel like you're cheating at life. You're like, really? I get to do this and get paid for it? That's pretty awesome.
Yes.
Um, okay, so with that, tell everybody how they can connect with you, where they can find you, where they can learn more about working with you, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. You can connect with me at our website, the BLE Institute. So our website is www.bleinstitute.com.
I'll
And the
put it in
best
the
way to,
notes, in the
okay,
show
put that in the
notes.
notes. The best way to contact me is go to the About page and meet the founder because there's buttons underneath there where you can schedule a call with me or
Nice.
even become a guest on my podcast, which I've been very blessed to have you as a guest.
Oh, thanks.
Um, and I also want to give a gift of
Okay.
it's a body language success. I call it a challenge, but it's just a gift of three different videos. You get sent one each day. So I call it body language success in 3 days in 3 ways.
Nice.
So
I
these
might
are
have to watch that. I might just sign up
yes.
for that.
So that yeah. So it's getting you, it gives you some tips of here's some different ways to think about your body language. Here's some, different things you can do just to start thinking about body language a little different. We really talk about body language from the inside out. So it's not one of those of like, okay, so flip your hair like this and you hold your hand, it's not that kind
Yeah.
of body language. It's really how are you fully showing up in your presence, in your mindset, because those are what run and now bring to life your body language,
Yeah.
right? That's the CPU.
Yeah.
That makes the
They
body language
activate your
happen.
energy. That's
Yes,
their
right.
your
That activates
energy field.
everything.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yes. So, yeah, so I would love to share that with everybody because again, watching people go from feeling unsure and unconfident to totally owning their space and being confident and creating impact. I mean, that just makes my joy meter go through the roof. So I
Sure.
love sharing this to help other people.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so, so much for being here today, Kirsten. I loved having you. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here.
Oh, it was such a joy to be here. Thank you so much for this honor.
Awesome. And to all the sojourners out there listening, once again, thank you for coming along for another episode. Don't forget to like, share, or subscribe to Realign Journey. And until next time.